Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the Getting Uncomfortable podcast. I'm your host, Eric Uresk, here with my co-host, Orlando Jimenez, OJ. We are here on Labor Day, enjoying a nice, beautiful weekend. A little bit of an off day for some of us. We went in and trained this morning.
Yeah,
right?
it definitely was not an off day.
No, yeah, I
for
guess
us.
it wasn't. Yeah.
So happy Labor Day to everyone.
Yeah, happy Labor Day to those of you guys out enjoying the day. We are on full work mode, so yeah, we got our workout in today, and we're gonna get a podcast in so we can come and talk to you guys. So yeah, I just had an anniversary over the weekend, so that was interesting. My first wedding anniversary, and
How was it?
it was good, man. It was fuck, dude. Like, things have gotten a lot easier, over the year with my wife, and the first 6 months were fucking hard. And I'm gonna get into, and it's actually fitting into the story or what we're gonna talk about today. But having my wife leave Singapore, and me leaving a very comfortable situation in Phuket to kind of pursue something, to kind of follow a feeling that I had inside, basically like chasing a dream that I wasn't even really sure what the dream was yet, and putting a life together from scratch on top of getting married, and yeah, man, it was stressful.
So making it up as you go.
Making it up as I go. Both of us doing a lot of deep spiritual and emotional work at the same time. So both of our stuff is up, it's flaring, for like the first 6 months, because the beginning part of that type of work is gnarly, where the stuff's, you're sitting in the ugliness of it, and there's not a lot of freedom when you're sitting in the ugliness of it, and her and I were in the ugliness at the same time, dealing with our own shit, but then you're dealing with each other too by just by default, right? So yeah, learning how to let her go through her shit even when I'm feeling good, and not letting that bring me down, and vice versa. So yeah, it was a struggle, man. And I've never doubted that I love my wife, but there were points where I was not sure that getting married was the right thing, because because it was uncomfortable and it didn't feel easy, and it's not supposed to be easy. I think, you're working in a partnership and working on a partnership. It's fucking challenging, man. You got two people with their own set of shit,
Existing together.
Yeah, you're existing together, and you're trying to bring your best foot forward. And yeah, it definitely was challenging in the beginning. I think now I actually really enjoy being married now. I enjoy my wife as a partner. I enjoy the things that we're building, and that we've kind of come out on the other end of some really crazy stuff, and we'll get into some of that in the conversation today. So, I talk to a lot of people from all over the world, and students and people that follow my stuff online, what have you. And a lot of people are stuck in a situation that they feel like they have to be in, right? So maybe it's a job that they hate, right? Maybe there's a hobby that they have that they're passionate about, and they'd like to get into it more, and they're afraid, they don't know how. Maybe you're living a life that you don't want to live anymore, and you've made concessions to not chase your dream as a trade-off for security, right? Which happens all the time, right?
Right.
There's a trade-off when you go to chase your dream. It generally involves leaving behind most of the security that right? Working in a corporate office, is usually not the dream, right? Making money for somebody else is usually not the dream. But what it is it's secure. I know I got a paycheck coming in, right? And I know when it's coming in. I know how much it's going to be. I know when it's going to be there, all that stuff. So that's really comforting to know that stuff, right? I know my needs are going to be met. I can schedule everything based upon the amount of money I have coming in, when it's coming in, all that stuff. It's a much easier way to live than...
It's comfortable.
Yeah, it is.
Security.
Than not knowing when the next check is coming in, right?
So for you, leaving Thailand was leaving that security and that comfort zone?
Big time. So
What made it so comfortable? Like
So I'm living in Thailand, right?
Mhm.
Dollar goes 3 times as far in Thailand as it does here.
Okay.
Okay, so it's 3 times stronger than in Thailand than it is in the U.S. I'm on average minimum making $3,000 a month, so that's pretty close to $9,000 a month, like spending power.
Right.
Like for me, I mean, maybe to some of you guys that's not a lot of money. For me, that was quite a bit of money. Like, I didn't have to worry about anything, right? Rent was paid. I lived in a nice condo, gated pool, all that stuff. $400 a month.
Yeah.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah, like nice little 1-bedroom, really cool little balcony, overlooking like a mountain view. It was really nice. So I eat out 6 times a day, and I pay for my wife to eat out 6 times a day, and doesn't scratch my budget at all.
Yeah.
Right. And when I say eat out, I go get my breakfast. I go get a protein shake in between workouts. Whatever, and anything I have, I'm not doing it at home. Maybe I make coffee at home.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. Right. Everything else, it's just cheaper. It's easier to have somebody else do it. So that's the life I'm living. I get up. I'm on my motorbike. I can cruise 7 minutes to the gym. Right. So 7 minutes for me to get from my apartment to the gym. So that's not very much time, man. So my travel time is cut. Right. Everything is easy.
Yeah.
The gym that I'm working at, God bless, Boyd and Khan at Phuket Top Team. They really took good care of me. They paid me well. I also got percentages of fighter purses, like upon my agreements with the fighters. So I got to make my own agreements with the fighters that I was working with to take 10% when fights came up and do camps. I got to, decide whose camp I was going to do and didn't want to work with. And so I had a lot of freedom. I had...
But you built that, right?
I did.
You built that
I did. I built it. Yeah.
Because I remember, let's go back. It's 2014. I'm exhausted as a cop.
Right.
I took a month off.
Yeah.
And I spent a lot of time with you. And we spent the last morning together when I was like, I'm going to take you to the airport.
Right.
Me.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to take you.
Yeah.
And to see like where we came from 2010.
Yeah.
It's 2014 and you went on to make something happen again from nothing.
Yeah. 2010 we were living in the upstairs of a gym. Mm-hmm. 2014 I had decided to take the opportunity to go to Thailand. By a couple of years in, when I decided to become a head coach, I win 3 major titles that year in a couple months succession, and Phuket Top Team becomes one of the best gyms in Asia. Mm-hmm. So it was it was pretty interesting. So success was coming, things were coming, and it was all good stuff. But something didn't feel right. I felt at a certain point that I had reached the limit of what I could do there. And I didn't know where next. I think, okay, maybe I just need a different gym that's gonna, I need to work somewhere different. Someone's gonna pay me more, or and I announced that I'm not gonna renew my position, and I'm thinking like offers are just gonna roll in, and somebody, with deep pockets is gonna want me to come and run their gym, and that didn't happen, right? I got offers all over the world. None of them was I in love with, right? Nothing was I like, man, I really want to do this. I had guys that wanted to build a gym with me in my own gym in Marbella, Spain, like in the south of Spain, beautiful place, and something just didn't feel right about it. And so, we decided that I'm not going to make a decision until I know what I want to do. And mind you, I'm separated from my wife, right? So her and I were engaged, and this is something we talk about openly. So her and I were in an open relationship, and we had certain agreements in place within that open relationship, and she broke the agreements that we had set, and so I told her she had to leave, and this is when we both, I think that I thought that she needed to get help, and I said, I can't, you're not going to get the help you need if we're together. Okay. So I'm like, maybe, not, I still love you, but I can't be with you right now. And I have to set boundaries and have respect for myself. And, you need to take care of yourself. And I don't know where that road's going to lead us. right? So so I leave Phuket on those terms, right? I'm not with my fiance anymore. I'd broken off maybe like a month before that. I'm going to London to finish up some fight camps with Terry Brazier, Adam Amasinger, and a couple other guys. And I don't know where I'm going next, right? So I go there, go 4-0 with the guys that I'm cornering in England, and everything works fantastic. So I was pretty stoked about that, and I have all this momentum. You know, I'm like, fuck, man, somebody is gonna just like see this and you know, still this like delusion, someone's gonna finance my dream, right? It's like, all right, I have this talent, somebody should recognize it and pay me for it, right? And I'm learning more and more that that's almost never how this works. Okay, there's some hard work that's got to be put in, and so I go home. I spend 5 weeks in New York, and you know, man, I'll tell you what, like I started really like I think I've always had some underlying anxiety, but my anxiety has grown in the past year. As much work as I've done, and as much as I'm actually in a better place, like mentally, spiritually, financially, that I'm in the best places I've ever been. My anxiety has grown this year, and that sometimes that's like embarrassing for me to say for the amount of work that I do, but it has. I've learned how to navigate it and manage it to a degree, but yeah, I definitely struggle with anxiety to a point where it can be debilitating, physically debilitating. So yeah, it was really challenging to deal with all of that. And I'm home. I'm hanging out in the Hamptons. My wife meets back up with me, so we're like, all right, we'll meet in New York and we'll see how things go. And you know, quickly we realized like we're gonna stay together. We still have no fucking clue what I'm doing next. I have about 10 grand in the bank from fight camps and seminars and stuff like that. I've got no car, no job on the horizon, no place to live other than my parents pretty much gave me an open arms, you know, extended invite to stay till I wanted. But after a few weeks, we just decided like, all right, let's, we're going to go to San Diego. I just have a feeling I have to go to San Diego. And I always had this feeling that I needed to come back to San Diego. I had some unfinished work to do here. I didn't know what. The spiritual community that I'm a part of here and the people that help me do the work that I do on myself were here. And I felt like I needed to do more work. And on top of that, I think that was probably the major thing that prompted me out here. Everything else was going to be secondary. And so we get on a flight. Danny Martinez lets me stay at his house for about 2 weeks. My coach and his wife let me crash at their house for a bit. And then, actually a friend that I used to train jiu-jitsu with says, I got pretty much an open basement. You guys can have it, and gave us like a really good price. So, we end up getting an apartment, and a friend that I knew from some gyms helped me lease a brand new car with zero credit history in the past 5 years, no job history in the past 5 years, and somehow, manifests like getting, leasing a brand new car. I've never owned anything brand new in my entire life, by the way. Not that I own the car, but to drive a brand new car, it's a fucking Honda Civic. But for me, that was huge for me. I was like, I could never imagine that, that was not going to happen in my existence. Yeah. And I always thought like, if I ever get a new car, I just want something reliable, like a Honda Civic, and it was the color that I wanted, and it was all that stuff. It like might not mean any. Some of you guys might have had that as your first car, but for me, that meant something to me. I was like, oh man, like I always thought, what would it be like to have a reliable car, right? In Asia, I didn't need a car. I had a motorbike, so that problem was solved. You just whipping around on motorbikes, and I can exchange them out. Like the gym would give me a new motorbike whenever I wanted one. I got bored of driving one, I'd get another. It wasn't a big deal. So yeah, and then Eric Del Fiero said, it's perfect timing. I have to be in Mexico, so I need somebody to run the team while I'm gone. And this is what I can afford to pay you. And so, yeah, and, a gym, Alianza Eastlake reached out. They wanted me to teach some classes there, so just started putting some stuff together. Now, mind you, this is a far cry from the comfort that I was used to. Things were not comfortable. I'm putting this money out, but it's not necessarily going to come back in the same fashion that I'm spending it, right? So there's some apprehension there. right? There's definitely some apprehension. I don't feel comfortable. I don't know that the money that I'm used to have coming in and the comfort level that I'm used to having come in is not coming in the same way. Okay. So, all right, I'm coaching and I'm doing this stuff, and I start at the same time I'm going back into some deep personal work, right? Around codependency and sex and love addiction stuff, right? Just abandonment things and really going back deep into that work. So I got all this going on at the same time, and I get married, okay? Within 2 weeks of getting back here, we decided we're going to stay together. We knew we wanted to get married. We were engaged prior anyway. We knew we were going to get married at some point. We had to get married for her to stay here. So it was just like speeding up the inevitable. So a lot of change in a very, very, very short amount of time. Like, I think the two most stressful things you can do are move and get married. They're at the top of the list. And so we decided to do the two at the same time, and just to really increase.
Knock it out.
Yeah, just get it all done with. And then yeah, she's starting some deep work too, right? Some really for like the first time in her life. She's a lot younger than I am, so. Yeah, man, there's a lot going on there. There's a lot of unsurety. There is just like nothing is set. And I read a book a while back. It's from Osho, and it's called The Art of Living Dangerously. And it really brilliantly puts in, the idea of living your life according to your passions, where there's no security, there's no comfort, but that's where you feel the most alive, right? When I have everything set in stone and everything's, short. Tony Robbins talks about this, and people's primary need, they have like 5 or 6 of them. Their primary need is security or certainty, right? The second one is uncertainty, because if all I have is certainty, right, that's really boring. If I know everything is just going to be the same day in, day out, that's a really boring existence, right? Having the same conversations with the same people. There's no growth in that, right? There is no growth in certainty. Right? All the growth happens in uncertainty. So as uncomfortable it is, and it's so weird, I thrive in uncertainty. I live the more exciting life in the uncertainty, but I'm always trying to get back to certainty, even though everything is going its best when I'm living in uncertainty. And so it's like, it's this paradox, and I think it happens for a lot of us, man. Like, we're seeking that excitement, but at the same time, like wanting to control the excitement at the same time, like control the levels and not quite let go of the reins.
Well, you remember we were just talking about when we were kids, climbing a 30-foot tree was no issue for us.
Right.
But then as adult, you start to be in that safety mindset, right?
Right.
Survival. So when we climb a tree now, we're like, do we really want to climb that tree as an adult? Because you can fall, get hurt, injured, can't train,
sure,
make money. So we choose not to, right? Out of fear.
Yeah.
And the same can be said what you're talking about.
Yeah, it literally is that, man. It's like, okay, what made it okay for me to climb 30 feet high in a tree as a little kid, right? Nowhere near as strong, right? But now as a grown-up, like, now I get 10 feet into the tree and I'm like, whoa, this is dangerous. This might be a little bit too much. So yeah, man, it's really interesting. And it's an idea that I have to sit with often when I'm doubting myself, or when I'm looking to get that comfort and that security, when I'm looking to know what's next. I gotta take the moment and sit back and remember everything exciting and fun and new and growth, right? I'm happy when I'm growing. Right. When I stop growing, I'm not happy. I settle into that, and I don't feel like I'm alive when I'm not living in a growth mindset. And in order to be in a growth mindset, things got to be growing around me. Things do have to be moving to a certain degree towards some sort of progress.
No, right. You can't. I mean, you know, if you don't move forward, nothing's gonna happen, right?
Yeah.
So you have to continuously do that. There's growth there in finding what's uncomfortable. Like you're saying, like at the same time, that, but you want to control that level of uncomfortability. But just when you let go, that's where it's endless possibilities there. What lies there. But there's that fear, and you're always tugging.
Right.
Always that little
can't
voice,
trust.
That little voice in your head.
Won't quite fully trust.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's seen in like training scenarios.
Right.
Even technical like breakdown sessions like we had this morning.
Yeah.
if you just listen and trust. But what do we want? We want now.
Yeah.
Instant.
Right.
I gotta get this perfect now.
Now. Yeah, or I don't want to lose now, so I don't have time to learn this new thing.
Right. Because
I got to do what I'm comfortable with.
Right. Because I know Coach Eric's gonna put us in a situation to where we might have to use this live. I want to be better than the other guy.
Yeah.
So I got to get this now.
Yeah.
It happens. It happened to me this morning.
Yeah.
It happens to all of us.
Yeah.
Dominic Cruz, Miles Jury, everyone's got that. You know, they just want to get it.
Yeah, or you show them something new, and instead of doing what's new and fucking it up, they do what's old and comfortable.
Right.
Yes.
Back to the comfort.
Right, yeah, back to the comfort, right? Always back to the comfort. I challenge a lot of young fighters to pay attention, right? When you're learning a new way to do something that you're not comfortable with, and then the live round starts, if you immediately go back to what's comfortable for the sake of winning a drill, you are handicapping your own growth every time. Yeah, and it happens all the time. Every gym I've ever been in, with every set of athlete, from UFC champion, superstar, to the guy that just started, we all do it. It is that human trait to look for comfort now, instant gratification now, right? Let me do what I know I can do now instead of delay this gratification. I might mess this up a bunch, but in the long run, I'm going to have some new weapons that are going to help me out, right? Because that instant gratification is a fucking killer. And I've been doing a lot of work with that lately. I've been kind of researching dopamine fasting. And, how many times do I feel the urge to grab my phone or eat something that, when I eat sugar, I go down a sugar spiral. Like, it's not a regular part of my diet, but if I have sugar, some like cookies or some shit like that, man, I'll just be a piece of shit for the rest of the day, and just like, I don't feel good about it, man. I get it, and like after the first couple, it's not the same, it dulled, the receptors get dulled, and then you're looking for something new. So I've been challenging that. I've been asking myself when I want to pick up the phone to, check if there's any exciting news or fucking alerts or comments or whatever, because I do like engagement that I get with the content that I put out, but it is a dopamine hit. And so I'm like, what am I looking for right now? Am I looking for that dopamine hit? Mm-hmm. Right? And oftentimes that's the answer, right? Okay, what can I do instead that's going to be more productive in the long run? Because when I do flood those dopamine receptors, it doesn't lead to anything good in the long run, right? I'm less sharp, less creative. It'll fuck up my sleep. It can do a lot of different things that I don't like to do in the long run. So now that I'm aware of the facts of what's behind it, it's a little bit easier for me to make my decisions around that stuff. Something as simple as, okay, I want to eat something that's not good for me right now. Why do I want to eat that? What am I looking to get? Am I looking to get that little dopamine hit? Right? That's usually the answer. So do I really want some social interaction? Do I really want to do something creative instead? Do I really want to, explore a different outlet or educate myself on something? Is there some way that I could be using this time better? Right. And so that's been a big thing for me. Just recently, I started really kind of exploring this a little bit, and it helps me make better decisions for long-term growth. Okay. Right. I've been looking up some YouTube videos. I found a really cool YouTube channel called 1% Better. I would recommend everybody check it out. The guy basically takes self-improvement books and he condenses them, gives you basically the cliff notes in 10-minute videos. So it's a cool way to access information, and not that you're going to get the whole book, but you might decide, oh, this is a book I want to read, or this is a book I don't want to read. Where you get kind of getting the cliff notes of the book, and it gives me the ideas and concepts that, okay, I can take those concepts and maybe explore them or expand upon them and do some stuff like that. So anyway, sorry to go off on that tangent, but we're doing all this, there's a lot of growth going on. And it's way past my comfort threshold. And, part of growing and part of chasing a dream is, expanding your comfort threshold, right? Expanding your nervous system's ability to withstand the unknown. And I think that prevents a lot of people from doing things that they wish that they could, right? That's a little bit too much unsurety for me. Right? If I could be a little bit more sure, then I might do it. Mm-hmm. Right? And so, and I don't think it's wise or even possible for everybody to just kind of make that big broad jump all the time. I mean, I tend to just make big broad jumps I pretty much wing my whole life. For the most part. I don't know if it doesn't, I mean, it serves me often enough that I continue to do it, but yeah, I guess a little preparation would be helpful here and there. I guess that's where you come in.
Yeah, the strategic planning is necessary.
Yeah.
For that growth.
Right.
In this and what we're doing.
Yeah.
Definitely. Whether it's breaking down editing or how we're promoting it on different platforms or whatnot, it's always, there's got to be a strategic plan in that process for that growth to take place. You can't just say, I want to do this. Right. You dream it, but there's no real declaration, and there's not the action to deliver.
Right.
So when you have those three, when you understand that, okay, I have a vision, I have a dream, I'm declaring it. And also the importance of letting those around you know it.
Right.
To see who your support is and have that support. And then you can return that as well. And then deliver it, do it. Like you said, the previous podcast, we didn't know what the fuck we were doing.
No.
But we did it.
Right.
And we're doing it. You're making it up as you go, and that's okay.
Yeah. But the planning is important, to a degree. Like, if I really want to take things to the next level in my life, what I'm learning is I do have to plan. And, for me, there's the lack of instant gratification. Now I got to actually do some work, okay, slow things down, and do things that are boring or task-oriented that are not my favorite things to do. And I have to do them if I want to see, a good end result, I can't always just be doing things by the seat of my pants. Like, it's good. It serves me in a lot of ways, but it also holds me back in a lot of ways because I do get apprehensive and anxious about planning things.
Yes. I love the butterflies you get before you compete.
Yeah.
And you're walking into the lights.
Yeah.
That's what I feel with projects, with personal strategic plans, and then actually making them actionable. The butterflies, the fear, right? I love that part.
Right.
It's almost like why I do it.
Huh. Yeah.
Compete.
It's fucking fun, huh?
It's scary, but it's fucking exciting.
Yeah. So, now, okay, I'm coaching. I'm working with, world-class fight team again, or a different world-class fight team, and guys that I was teammates of before. I'm coaching some new people. It's a different mix of energy. It's a whole different situation that I'm walking into now. Leaving being a head coach to be an assistant coach, right? As definitely an adjustment, because I like to just walk into a room and say, this is what's going on, but it's not all about my vision on this team. Where if I was the head coach, then that's the vision that's being followed. So I have to kind of tailor my skills to fit the vision of another. And that's challenging, right? That's challenging to kind of to dial back and change your role a little bit and realize that, okay, I'm here to be helpful as this person sees it, because they're the one employing me, and this is what they're asking of me, right? So that's my responsibility to perform that. That was challenging.
The process of starting over.
Yeah, starting over completely, right? Yeah. Starting over completely now. Like all the comfort's gone. I'm starting over completely, and then as I'm doing this work, right, I start to like really get in touch with some deeper parts of myself. And what I started to realize and pay attention, I started to really kind of dive into some of the childhood trauma. And I've talked about this on some podcasts recently. I'm not even sure if they were my own or other people's podcasts that I've been on. But one of the things I started to come around to was that I wanted to be more than just a fighter or a martial artist. And I think I did when I was a little kid, until I got the idea that I had to hurt people to get love, right? And so like once I figured that out, I was more concerned about feeling good and getting love than chasing my creative passions. I didn't have time to figure out what my creative passions were at 5, 6, 7 years old. When I'm formulating this sort of outline of my life based on, okay, if I hurt enough people, then people will love me, which is really fucking warped, but that's what I had to go with. So I'm going on that, and I basically like shut a lot of that stuff off after that. I would a few teachers prompted me about my writing when I was a kid. They said, oh, you have a talent for this, and it's just something I never even looked into. I did really well in public speaking. I would cut every class but I would show up to the public speaking class because he would let me talk about anything I wanted to, you know. He would let me talk about anything that I wanted to, and he was encouraging. My subject matter was really fucked up, and you know, and he didn't care. He didn't censor me and let me do my thing, and really encouraged me. So, you know, I really liked writing, and I really liked speaking and communicating, but I never explored those avenues. Then as a coach, I knew I liked communicating, and I like getting people hyped up, and I like being passionate and kind of, you know, delivering a message when I'm coaching. Like, so I got to like explore some of that there. But every time I would do a podcast, I would be like kind of like high after it. I'd be like, oh fuck, man, I wish I could do more of those. Mm-hmm. You know, I really enjoy those type of conversations. They're really fun for me. Like expanding in long form on these ideas is really fun. And then I would, you know, I always write just little introspective things that I may think about on Facebook, or something I think is funny on Facebook, or past experiences, and people started encouraging, man, you should write a book. You have all these crazy stories and all these lessons that you've learned. You should write a book. And I started to realize I started playing around with the idea, and I started writing more and more, and I started a newsletter, and that kind of fizzled out, and as kind of like the stress got high over the year, I started to realize I don't want to coach forever. You know, I maybe want to coach for 5 more years. And I would like to be fully immersed in my creative pursuits. Now, how do I do that? How do I leave behind this life? You know, because I love martial arts, and I'll always be involved with martial arts to a degree. I just don't want my livelihood to depend on it, right? I want to just do it as a passion and as a hobby, as something fun. But relying on my paycheck to do it, it can kill it at times for me. So I start writing a book. A friend invites me into this like writers guild. So I joined this little group. It's all these like educated, like, you know, like people that are in, you know, literature people. Right. And I'm not that, you know, I have no education whatsoever. So I'm like, you know, trying not to offend anybody as I'm communicating on these, you know, in these groups. These people are like really fucking liberal and sensitive, and I'm none of those things. Yeah. So it was interesting, and got some good feedback on my initial writings, and just started banging away at writing this memoir, and somewhere in the midst of that, I hired a coach to kind of help edit my stuff, or an editor really. So the editor reads my writing and you know, kind of gives me feedback on where, and you know, so far he's been super encouraging, and you know, is very happy and sort of surprised at my ability to write, and I'm able to like take the lessons from his edits and kind of like move forward with that in mind, you know. So he has to do less editing as I'm moving on. So I'm learning quite a bit about that stuff, and I enjoy, you know, yesterday that's pretty much all I did. I sat down and wrote and knocked out a chapter yesterday, and I really just enjoyed the process of telling a story. It's my story, but I enjoy telling it. I enjoy how it's being told. I know, you know, I know the message that I want to come through in this story, and it's really exciting to me to do that. And then, you know, this podcast came about just from like a brief conversation that you and I had. I had been wanting to do a podcast so bad. You know, I was going to start one just on my fucking, on my phone or what, you know, I was looking to do it any way possible. I just didn't know any of the technical stuff, and I was all really, I'm watching videos, and I'm like, this is all so confusing. And then, you know, you kind of stepped in.
Yeah, as the COO of the Dominator MMA Inc.,
yeah,
we had everything you needed.
Right.
We did. We had everything on hand, right? We had this. We have Julian, who happens to be, you know, the one behind the camera doing all the work.
Right.
Also, a lot of our photography got together. We just put our brains together and made it work, man. But we had the tools, right?
Yeah, it's like, oh, wow, all the equipment is here. Yeah. I don't know how to use this shit, but we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, and literally the first day, none of us really knew what the hell we were doing, except for Julian with the camera. Mm-hmm. But, you know,
we were just praying.
Yeah. We'll see. Well, we were like, we'll just call it a pilot, and if it sucks, we won't release it, you know? And unfortunately, it came out all right. Yeah. So all of this stuff, man, is uncomfortable as fuck. Hence the name of the podcast is Getting Uncomfortable. And, you know, for anybody listening that's like, wants to do something and isn't doing it, I'd like you to sit and ask yourself why you're not, right? And start and listen to the excuses that come into your head, right? The stories that you tell yourself. And some of them might have a little bit of validity, some of them might be complete nonsense. And it's I know this, man. If I've been given a passion for something, I can make it happen, right? So any story that I tell myself is bullshit, right? Most excuses are invalid. I think most excuses are invalid. I think, I won't say all excuses are invalid, because I try to avoid speaking in absolutes when I can, but I think most excuses are invalid. And I think what it is, it's just about being able to stretch your ability to withstand stress of not knowing. Just to be able to stretch your ability to kind of bear down and withstand the uncertainty, right? That's the hard part, right? Is keep going even though everything is uncertain, right? Keep going even though everything is uncertain. That's really hard to do. And the more I keep kind of stretching myself, it's not getting any more certain. I'm able to handle it a little bit more, right? But it's definitely not getting any more certain. I find that I'm investing in myself more now, and each time I make an investment in myself, there's the uncertainty of parting with the money that it costs to invest in myself, or to pay for a service, right? Or pay for a service that's going to make my life better and improve the things around me. All of that stuff's investing in myself, right? And every time I part with that money, I'm parting with security, because I like to have a fixed number in my bank account, a number that I'm happy and feel safe with, right? And that number continues to grow. I have like a thermometer, and unfortunately my thermometer has sort of grown of the number of, and I tend to stay around that much money, so I can grow that number. And I've been steadily growing that number, and that's cool. But whenever that number goes under because I just made an investment in myself, right, I get very uncomfortable. But the other side of that is every time I stretch, right, I grow. Every time I stretch myself out financially, I grow into something new financially. Every time I stretch myself out mentally or physically, right, I make myself more valuable, right? So every time I put this money out, I put these investments out into the world, or I invest in people or whatever, I've been getting the returns, man. I've been getting the returns.
That's living in abundance.
Yeah.
100%.
And it's fucking wild, dude. Like, my wife and I, when we first moved here, we're living in the hood, and we had a roommate was really nervous about the COVID situation, and we're still working in gyms, so he wanted, basically gave us 30 days to get a new place, and because he was worried. He has a son that had family members that had breathing issues and stuff like that. So all right, cool, I totally get that. So we're like, all right, we got to find a place to live in the midst of a pandemic, and this is March, when this shit is fucking raging hot, right? So we're like, fuck, I don't know what to do. So I talked to a guy, a friend of a friend, who's looking for a roommate situation, lives in OB, like a block from the water, but it's a little expensive, a little bit out of my range right now. And mind you, we're out of work, so like a couple weeks go by while we still have time to look, and he kind of warms up to the idea. He's like, oh man, I keep getting this like feeling that like you'd be a good roommate, like I guess I could come down on the price a little bit. And and even him coming down on the price, it was still like almost, not quite, but almost double what we were paying. Mm-hmm. I'm like, all right, I can manage that, but it's gonna sting a little bit. And so we do this, and I'm like, I'm just gonna fucking make it work. What am I gonna do? And more money, starts, things get more stable than they were. Right, the number actually goes up. I'm actually have a higher quality of life now, and I'm living in a place, in an area that's much more in line with what I value and who I am as a person. My wife can walk around safely and get to stores and do things that she's not living in some place where she can't go out of the house, or it's not safe. So all around, it's like, oh wow, things got put in place to bring me to a place where, bring me into a new state of living, a new state of consciousness where I'm kind of living in this new house. It's beautiful, man. It's like, wow, like I never thought I would live this close to the water in my life. Yeah. Walking distance, half a block, and I'm by the beach. Like that's fucking wild to me. And had I been afraid and said, you know what, I really don't want to spend any more money than I'm spending now because this makes me comfortable, right? I couldn't imagine going backward. I couldn't imagine not taking those steps. It's always scary, and even the small ones are scary, but the end product is almost always works out in my favor. I can sit here today, and even if things don't work out like directly, there's always the lesson that I can take away from a lot of these things, and I'm that much wiser if I choose to be. Right, I'm that much wiser moving forward if I choose to be. So, yeah, no, it's almost I can't think of a time it hasn't worked out. I can't think of a time it hasn't worked out better than I thought it would. Right, not the way I thought it would. Right, sometimes it's longer than I thought it's going to take. Right, creating content and putting it out there and getting eyes on it is fucking hard. Right? Even with all the famous people, friends we have, and all that stuff, it's still hard.
Still work.
Yeah, it's still work, man. It's not. Yeah, it's never as easy as I think it's gonna be, but it's always more rewarding than I thought it was gonna be too. So I find that to be like, yeah, I find that to be true in most of the things that in all these like long-term pursuits, right? It's never as easy as I thought it was gonna be. But it's definitely always more rewarding. I think I can comfortably say that's been a pretty much a rule for any of these long-term pursuits, right? Anything that's not to feel good now. Anytime I invest time, money, energy, emotions, all that stuff, my fucking spirit into something, it takes a little bit longer. But it man, when it does sort of materialize and come to fruition, it is a beautiful thing. And so here we are, we're sitting here, this is what, our 6th or 7th episode or something like that.
I think
6, 6.5 maybe, and yeah, we're putting out content and people are enjoying it, and the feedback's been wonderful so far. And
definitely.
I think we're just trying to be helpful. We're trying to give a voice to vulnerability, and I think this will probably be a topic for a later podcast, but vulnerability is a performance tool, and I'm gonna start talking a lot about that. I actually have to create a speech on that topic for my communications coach that I just got in touch with. I've just got undergoing a course with a communication coach, and so he wants me to prepare an 8-minute speech, and I got to pick the topic, and that's the topic that came to my head is vulnerability as a performance tool. How to use the power of vulnerability as a performance tool. And so, I think we'll end the podcast on that thought. And I hope you guys enjoy this Labor Day edition of the Getting Uncomfortable podcast. I've got some real uncomfortable stuff coming up for you guys when I do another podcast with my wife. Last time we just wanted to introduce her, but we're going to get pretty deep, pretty gnarly into some stuff that might make a lot of us uncomfortable, but I think it'll overall be helpful, and we're looking forward to getting that out soon. So please, if you guys like the comment, please help us spread the word. If you think it'll be helpful to somebody, give them a listen. We are available on Spotify, iTunes, Anchor, and YouTube, right? All you have to do is search Eric Uresk Getting Uncomfortable, and you will sort through the fake Getting Uncomfortables, and you'll get to the real Getting Uncomfortable. And, subscribe, like, comment, let us know how you like it so far. Let us know what you want to hear more of. And so, because that's what we are here to be of service. And so we want to know what makes you uncomfortable and what you'd like to hear us talk about.
Yes.
All right, signing off. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys.